Hey folks, this is Kalani. The War Within is almost here. We don't have too much longer to wait, so what better time to go over some of the best new and updated features coming through with this expansion. With so much to look forward to, and with the dev team learning from all the best parts of Dragonflight, the War Within is shaping up to be an amazing adventure. So let's go through our top 10 reasons to get excited for the War Within, and what we are most excited about specifically. Now before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. The Dragonflight expansion recreated the foundation for World of Warcraft, and the War Within expansion will be taking what made Dragonflight good and making it even better. For example, the skywriting or dynamic flight system will be expanded upon to include almost every flying mount, so we're no longer limited to just the 5 or 6 mounts that we collected throughout Dragonflight. You can even skyride with mounts that don't have wings, so we'll have much more freedom of which mounts to use, and any new flying mount should also have skywriting enabled as well. Now you can also freely switch between skywriting and steady flying with a new button at the top of your mount journal. You do need to be dismounted to change flying style, but for the most part you can swap back and forth pretty freely, so you can use whichever flying style you prefer. There will be an achievement tied to steady flying in the War Within zones, but it's relatively easy to complete, and you should be able to unlock that soon after reaching max level. You just need to complete the main storylines for each of the new 4 zones and explore all of them as well. The talent system for dragonriding or skywriting has also been streamlined, and it's no longer tied to Dragonflight glyphs. As you level up, you're going to earn skywriting proficiency, which lets you unlock talents in this new trimmed down tree. So any new player who is leveling up for the first time will earn these talents as they level, instead of needing to go out of their way to hunt down all of the glyphs. We're also going to see some important profession changes. Perhaps the most impactful change will be the addition of NPC or patron work orders. I know for a lot of folks, actually getting and completing work orders to progress through their skill ups, complete quests, get credit for achievements, and earn more profession knowledge was a pretty difficult task in Dragonflight. Between the restrictions on public orders and the lack of profession knowledge catch-up, it only became harder as you tried to compete with crafters who can guarantee a better result. But NPC crafting orders are going to change all of that. To start with, it gives you a guaranteed source of crafting orders, so you can complete any objective or requirement that asks you to interact with that system. NPC crafting orders will also be one of the major sources of the new artisan metal resource, as well as profession knowledge. Knowledge will also have weekly caps this time, so early birds can't get so far ahead by using questionable methods, and there will be catch-up baked into the system right from the get-go. So not only will there be hard caps on how quickly everyone can obtain knowledge and how far you can get per week, but even if you fall behind, you'll be able to catch up fairly quickly. So we shouldn't see that massive disparity between the hardcore crafters and what a casual player can obtain. The way material quality interacts with crafts will be changing as well. It will be harder to get your hands on the tier 2 and tier 3 raw materials, and tier 1 materials will remain the baseline gathering tier even for maxed out gatherers, so tier 2 and tier 3 will mean a lot more in the War Within. Crafting higher tiers of intermediate materials will also be harder, and the crafting skill increase you get for using higher tier materials was increased significantly. So getting those higher tiers of materials will be harder, but using them will definitely be worth it if you want to get the best chance for higher rank crafting results. And then the last big change is to inspiration. That stat is being removed entirely and is being replaced with a new concentration mechanic. You'll passively regenerate concentration, and you can spend concentration to guarantee a rank up of your next craft. So instead of it being random, like a crit chance for crafts, it will now be more reliable, but it will use this new resource. There's also a new stat that gives you a chance to refund concentration when used, so there is still a little bit of RNG at play here, but as long as you have concentration, you can produce some great results. I think if you enjoyed professions in Dragonflight, you'll definitely love the changes as we head into the War Within, and if you didn't enjoy them, the War Within actually addressed a lot of the pain points that folks had in Dragonflight, so you should give professions another shot in the War Within. They're shaping up to be really cool so far. Now the way leveling works will also be changing, and you won't have to go through the Dragonflight expansion anymore. So instead of Chromie time working up to level 60, and then you needing to level up in the Dragon Isles to 70, and then move on to the War Within, you can just do Chromie time until level 70. So you can level up to the War Within expansion in any other expansion of your choice, including Dragonflight if you really want to, but now Dragonflight will also cover levels 10 to 70, not just 60 to 70, so we'll have far more options for how to level up moving forward. The default leveling expansion has also been changed to be Dragonflight, which means that brand new players will have that as their default leveling experience, which should set them up much better when compared to the previous leveling option of Battle for Azeroth. There are also some significant experience requirement changes that will smooth out the leveling process up to 70 and make it a lot faster as well, which again is great for the new player experience. The leveling portion should be long enough to let you work through the vast majority of an expansion storyline, most importantly the Dragonflight storyline, but not be too long as to put new players off. So things being a bit faster will help newer folks get ready for the War Within as well. Separating the game into two distinct sections before the current expansion and then the current expansion should make things much easier to understand, and it'll be faster to get any ults that you still need to level caught up. Something else that's going to be much better in the War Within is Transmog farming. We'll finally be able to unlock almost any piece of Transmog when it drops for us as loot, even if we can't actually use that item. Up until now you could only unlock Transmog items for your class, so mail gear for mail wearers, plate gear for plate wearers, and if you couldn't use a weapon, you couldn't unlock the Transmog for it. But moving forward, you'll earn the Transmog for any piece of gear that drops, so it doesn't matter if you can't use it, you can still get the Transmog added to your collection so your other characters can use it. This will make it much easier and faster to collect Transmog, and you'll be collecting things for the armor types you might not play as much. If you've been following us for a while, you probably know I mostly play my Hunter, so it's no surprise that while I have a lot of male Transmog unlocked, I don't have too much for the other armor types. It's always a bit of a struggle trying to make a cool Transmog whenever I start playing another character, so these changes are going to be huge, and I'm definitely way more interested in heading back into old raids and dungeons to try and collect some more Transmog. The same rules are going to apply to other sources of Transmog as well, like reputations and factions. You only need to farm rep on one character now because you can buy gear for other armor types and still earn the Transmog, even if you can't use that piece of gear. The Warband system will also help us out with this moving forward, but we'll talk more about that in just a minute. And then the last major change is going to be for quests. Whenever you complete a quest that rewards you with a piece of gear, you will also unlock all of the Transmogs for all rewards that can be obtained for that quest. We aren't offered other armor types as rewards anymore, so if you're a leather wearer, you're only going to see the leather quest reward options, but other classes and armor types would get different rewards, which would also mean different Transmogs. Previously, you'd have to complete that quest on every armor type to get all of those Transmogs, but now you get them all the first time you complete the quest. So the first time we work through quests in the War Within, we are going to be unlocking a whole bunch of Transmog for each quest. The War Within will also give us a lot of different endgame options, probably more than we've ever had before. They're building upon what made Dragonflight so accessible, so everyone will have plenty of content to sink their teeth into up at max level. We'll see a new raid, of course, which looks to have some great bosses so far. The environment and story seem amazing as well, so I am very excited to jump into that. Dungeons will remain a cornerstone of the endgame loop, and with the huge changes that came through in Season 4, they will arguably be even more important and impactful. Heroic dungeons will stay relevant for longer and offer you a good way to get gear through queuable content. Mythic dungeons give you huge rewards without the timers or affixes of Mythic Plus, and Mythic Plus is changing yet again. All of those new weird affixes are being stripped out, all of the bad +7 affixes are being stripped out, and we'll have a much more reliable Mythic Plus experience in general. So you really don't have to learn a bunch of different affixes to progress through the Mythic Plus system this time, which will be a very interesting change of pace as well. PvP is changing quite a bit as well. With the rated Battleground Blitz, there will be a new Battleground 2, and gearing up should be more reliable with straightforward progression. We'll also see a lot of new world content and events, so even if you don't want to jump into group content, we will have a lot of things to do. The weekly vault is also being opened up to introduce a world content row, so everyone can work towards and earn some big weekly gear rewards no matter how you decide to play. But the largest new addition will be Delves. Delves offer something that we haven't really seen in a while, true endgame progression that is available to solo content players. You can jump into Delves by yourself or with up to a party of 5, so it's going to be very flexible. Maybe you just want to run things solo and see how far you go, or maybe you have 1 or 2 friends that aren't consistently on at the same time, but it doesn't really matter because you can go in as 2 players, 3 players, or if you find a few more friends, up to 5. The flexibility is great, and it will ensure that you can at least do something related to Delves, even if you have to go solo every now and then. There are 13 Delves coming with the War Within launch, so we'll have a lot of variety to keep things interesting, and each Delve has different puzzles, objectives, and bosses for you to clear through. They're like a mini solo dungeon. You'll also be able to level up a special companion to make your adventures a bit smoother, so the more experience you earn for your companion, the more they can contribute to your Delve progression. You can also kit them out with special curios or trinkets to give them even more utility and special abilities. Delves are also going to offer you a decent challenge, kind of what like Mage Towers offered back when they were first introduced. Delves will have 11 tiers of difficulty and they get pretty hard, so if you want to push yourself and clear through hard content without having to rely on a steady group like you would have to for dungeons or raids, Delves will fit that bill quite nicely. We'll also see better rewards than usual for solo player content. You should be able to earn yourself up to heroic raid equivalent item levels from Delves, which means they truly will be a competitive endgame gear source. Delves are also going to contribute to your outdoor world content weekly vault row, so everyone will be able to get some big upgrades from the weekly vault in the War Within, not just the group content players. Playing your characters is also going to change quite significantly due to major class updates, but also because of the new hero talent system. Hero talents let you tap into more specific facets of your class and kind of further specialize how you want to deal damage and what kinds of aspects of your class you want to emphasize. Each hero talent can be used by 2 different specializations. For example, mages can use the Frostfire hero talent tree to combine the powers of frost and fire magic if they are either frost or fire spect. They can use Sun Fury as fire or arcane mages, and then Spellslinger as frost or arcane mages. This also means that every spec has access to 2 different hero talent trees, so you can choose the one which fits your desired aesthetic or character fantasy best, or just swap between them whenever you want to change up how your character plays without needing to respec or play a different character. Each hero talent tree does something special and reinforces a key fantasy element of each class. Curiously, we'll be able to unlock every node in these new trees by the time we hit max level, so the only real choices you have in here are which hero talent tree to play and then the few choice nodes scattered throughout each tree. So you don't have to worry about which talents are the best in these trees, you'll have access to all of it eventually. You can also swap any of your choice talents whenever you want and freely swap between the hero talent trees, so you're never locked in. You can change things up in the same way you can change ordinary talents or your equipped gear. New talents, abilities and effects are always exciting, so I can't wait to tinker about with the hero talents when the expansion goes live. Now, one of the more exciting changes coming with the new expansion has got to be Warbands. Warbands take us away from character-specific progression and towards account-wide progression. So instead of each character needing to work through each new feature or system, the vast majority of your progress will be carried over to every character on your account. The best examples of this for the War Within are the new Renown and Reputation factions as well as Delves. For the Renown factions, it's super simple. Renown unlocks, rewards, and progress are all account-wide. So if you unlock anything in the Renown track on one character, all of your ults will have those same unlocks without having to re-grind the system. If you get halfway through on one character, then decide you want to switch mains, you can pick up right where you left off without losing any progress. Now for Delves, your companion progress is also account-wide, so no matter what character you are doing Delves on, your experience contributions count for every ult as well. That means that your ults will start with a leveled up companion to help make Delves a bit easier to progress through again, but any time also spent on ults will level up your companion for your main, so it's not wasted time or effort. The curios and trinkets that you get and upgrade for companions also seem to be warband-wide, so that's another progression system that you'll be sharing between characters. And the tiers you unlock for Delves also seem to be warband-wide, so you can skip over some levels without having to clear through all of them again. So warbands ensure that your progress matters and sticks around, even if you play a bunch of different characters or change characters often. We'll also have a new Warband bank, so you can share all of your materials across characters much easier. You can transfer currencies between characters straight from the currency window, and things like flight pass and exploration are unlocked on an account-wide basis as well. But one of my favourite additions with the Warbands feature is Warband bound gear. We'll see some examples of this soon in the pre-patch, but the scope of this new type of gear goes way beyond just easy catch-up gear at the end of a patch or expansion. As far as we know, whenever you're doing endgame content, so raids, dungeons, delves, any of that stuff, you'll have a chance to also receive Warband bound gear as personal loot. So when you kill a raid boss, you might get an extra, totally free piece of gear that can be traded and used by any of your ults. This Warband bound gear will be one upgrade track below the actual gear rewards of the content you're doing, so if you're killing raid bosses or clearing dungeons that reward you with hero track gear, the Warband bound gear will be champion track gear. So it's not quite as good as the content that you're clearing, it will always be about one major step behind, but that is going to be an amazing piece of gear to gear up your ults and get them caught up much faster, and it's basically free gear. Warbands truly do change how the game plays as a whole, and it may be one of the most game-changing systems we've ever seen added to WoW. Something else I am super excited about in the War Within is the sheer potential being laid out in front of us. This is the first time we're seeing so far into the future. Usually we only get an expansion at a time, and even then we never get to see that full picture, but the War Within is just the start of the worldsoul saga. We know we're setting up for a Void expansion in Midnight, and then we're heading towards a potential accumulation of the entire Warcraft universe up until this point in the Last Titan. This isn't just a one-off story plot point where we deal with Xalatath, stop the threats lurking below Khazalgar, and then move on to the next cool thing Blizzard comes up with. This is a full arc, a story saga, and we're only just setting the stage. With how the War Within is shaping up so far, this first installment of the worldsoul saga is going to be a blast, which only makes me more excited for the parts that come afterwards. But the most exciting thing coming in the War Within has got to be
Kalani. Even your vast knowledge pales in comparison to the infinite expanse of the void. But no matter, you can only watch as the void consumes all. You and all you know shall be mine.